Okay, hi. We are here with Annie Hornish, who I've known for a while now. We've worked together on a few things, a goat rescue. And aside from the fact that she is the director of the Connecticut Humane Society, she is involved in everything she can get her hands into when it comes to animals. She got together a crew to bring to Locket's Meadow to revamp one of our aging and dying sheds, and they spent a day doing that and did an amazing job. So anyway, there's like, what is there anything that you will not do for animals?
Try to help all I can. And that was a fun day, and we're very glad to help.
Oh good, we're just, oh thank God, because we're busy.
Yes.
It's hard to, like, would you back, sorry dog, oh Boo, go see daddy, go. And you're upsetting the pig. Can you hear the pig grunting because there's a dog almost standing on her face? Okay, so let's get to it here. All right, so I have this little list of questions that I sent you in advance, and we'll probably come up with a few things in between. But one of the things that I really want to talk about, as the Connecticut State Director of Humane Society, you are very involved in the legislature.
Yes.
You are, you're putting things up online, write a letter about this, do that. You have a really aggressive schedule this year. Tell us a little bit about the bills. What are you trying to do? The different things that you're working on this year.
Sure. Well, first I want to thank you, Kathleen, for having me. Thank you, Locket's Meadow, for all you do for animals. You have marvelous animal ambassadors. And I think you're doing a great service to the world, frankly, with what you're doing. And just want to get that out there and thank you so much. As far as a legislative agenda this year, there are a lot of bills circulating out there. I'll mention three of our priorities. One is the Big Five trophy hunting bill, which is Senate Bill 62. That fights wildlife trafficking by stopping the importation of hunting trophies from the Big Five species, which are elephants, giraffes, leopards, lions, and rhinos.
Right.
This bill makes it so that trophy hunters in Connecticut can't import body parts from these species that they kill, and that serves to completely remove their incentive to kill them. Right. These species, they're vulnerable. They're also suffering from climate change, poaching, habitat loss, and recent rollbacks to the Endangered Species Act. And so Connecticut does need to join other states, including several of our neighbors who have already passed similar laws. And we hope to get that bill over the finish line this year.
I had a quick question about that. I was in a house in Connecticut once that I never went back into again. It was completely filled with trophies, a lot of them from Africa, including a giraffe. And these are, once they're here, I mean, is it grandfathered in? They get to keep these, or is it, that's it?
Yeah, well, once it's going forward. Okay. It would be going forward, and yes, but that's you're touching on an important point. That's the motivation for trophy hunters. They like to hang body parts on a wall,
wall body parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. It's something many people cannot relate to, which I'm frankly glad I can't relate to that.
Okay, so that, yes, I see the importance of that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's one very important bill. Another priority bill is to block any bill that would allow hunting of Connecticut's small bear population. There's several that have been filed. Proponents for the legalization of trophy bear hunting, they claim they're proposing this for purposes of population reduction, right, and for public safety. But multiple scientific studies show that hunting does not reduce conflicts between humans and bears, nor does hunting make people safer. And the science also shows that education is the solution. And that means both public education, mostly on how to remove food attractants, and the education of first responders when they have to deal with bears that have become habituated. So that's something where
it's like Yellowstone, where everything is marked. Don't do this with the bears. Don't do that with the bears. Here's how you handle a bear. People, you're right. It's education. People have no idea.
Yep. And that's a great example. Yellowstone actually had something like a 92% drop in conflicts between people visiting the campers and bears. 92% reduction once they implemented those things you mentioned.
Right.
And so it works.
And it works, right.
It works. Yeah. And it's humane. And the third major bill that we're dealing with is a bill that fights puppy mills, and that's House Bill 5974. And what that does is it gives local control to municipalities to regulating pet shops in their towns. Right. And what this says specifically is that they have the power to regulate the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits. Okay. And we already believe that municipalities have the power to enact local ordinances on this issue. However, what happened in November 2019, there was uncertainty about the law that was created by the Department of Agriculture. In November 2019, the city of Stamford was poised to pass an ordinance to ban the sale of dogs and cats in pet shops. The Department of Agriculture intervened, and they suggested that their authority over the regulation of pet shops may preempt local control. And rather than risking legal action, Stamford decided to issue a resolution instead. And I want to mention, since that time, other municipalities have issued resolutions. Stamford was followed by Norwalk, and recently Manchester. And they're all calling on the Connecticut General Assembly to either enact a statewide ban on sales or clarify that municipalities have local control. Right. And we have other jurisdictions who are also considering resolutions. This is more of a law that makes it crystal clear that municipalities can do this, because otherwise the uncertainty that was created is going to invite a lawsuit. And then towns won't act on it. So this is more to clarify what existing law. Right. And yeah, and we feel, people say, why not a statewide ban? Why not, why are we doing it in what appears to be a circuitous route? It's because the General Assembly has failed to act over the years, and the Department of Ag has failed to meaningfully enforce the law. Right. In a way that helps stop the flow of dogs from puppy mills. And we, hopefully we get municipalities to pass it. We'll build a critical mass of towns and force the legislature to take action. And, over 340 localities have passed humane sourcing laws nationwide so far. So we're trying this route, and we hope it will be successful.
It's you have to get creative, because you come up with so many walls.
Absolutely.
So it's, and that's, anyway. So here's what I want you to talk about. I want you to tell people about conditions in puppy mills. Why is it a problem that these dogs are coming out of puppy mills and being sold at it? My first issue is they put them in these plastic cubicles to display them. And I can't go into these places where they have them, because I'm like, that's no place for a puppy. Yeah. Puppy can't be in cubicles. And they still do it at places. There's a little big dogs. Anyway, so I will let you talk about the puppy mills, and I will obsess about the way they're treated in the pet store.
In the pets, right. Well, a puppy mill, first of all, the definition of a puppy mill is a commercial breeding facility that prioritizes profit over the well-being of animals. Right. And these breeding operations have hundreds of breeding dogs typically.
Just there she is. She's up and about.
Okay.
A little
adorable.
She's been trying to make me pet her. She gave up and walked away. Okay, sorry.
Oh, no worries. They have hundreds of breeding dogs, sometimes over 1,000, and they languish in facilities that are required by law to provide minimal standards of care. Most of these facilities are found in the Midwest and Pennsylvania. The Amish have a lot. Yeah. Connecticut, to our knowledge, has no puppy mills. Granted, there may be some irresponsible breeders, but no large scale puppy mills to our knowledge.
One in Bethany that was shut down years ago.
The what?
One in Bethany that was shut down years ago.
Oh, that was would be considered a bad rescue. You're talking about, yeah, the prosecution. Yes, that was a bad rescue, and irresponsible breeder too, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. But large scale puppy mills that we're talking about that are USDA licensed, pretty much not here in Connecticut. But the problem is we have a handful of Connecticut pet shops that do source from puppy mills.
Right.
And, you talk about conditions. Many conditions are legal, but they would be unacceptable by most people, like cramped cages, wire flooring, and complete lack of socialization. Okay, those are some examples. So a USDA licensed breeder can legally confine dogs in stacked cages, wire cages that are only 6 inches larger than their bodies for their entire lives. And they deny them exercise, socialization, basic veterinary care, all of this. They can breed them at every heat cycle, wearing their bodies out. And any breeders who violate these, frankly, abysmal standards usually just get a slap on the wrist. The enforcement, it's appalling. And the USDA often makes statements indicating that recent statements, that it sees its role as more protector of this industry than a regulator of it. And so what happens is we see
animals in those circumstances, we'd be arrested.
Yes, most people, it is legal by federal standards. Right. But most people would consider that animal cruelty.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, weak federal standards and poor enforcement of those standards at both the federal and state level.
Right.
Yeah. And that's been the problem. And we do know that Connecticut sources from puppy mills because we have a paper trail. Pet stores, when they sell a dog, they're required to send in where that dog came from. It's called a certificate of origin. Right. Through FOIA requests. We looked at them very recently, we did a study from November 2018 to March 2019, and we saw that they are indeed sourcing from puppy mills with abysmal animal welfare records. So it's happening. And when we looked at these certificates in past years, we saw the same thing. It's a pattern that has not broken for many, many years, and the laws are not being enforced. And this is our only way to stop puppy mill traffickers.
So you hear a lot of people, and we're just going to go off on a tangent here. A lot of people who are like, well, I got one from a pet store. Why is it so terrible to do that? I know several people who have. Obviously, they were from puppy mills. Why is that so terrible to do?
Yeah, and a lot of people feel that way. They see the doggy in the window, and they want. And some people just, they're cute. No one can, say they're not cute, and they're attractive. People want them. Some people want to rescue them. They want to get them out of there and get them home, give them a good home. But generally speaking, when people purchase them, they're supporting a very cruel industry. Right. And it's not that puppy is very likely, more likely than coming from a responsible breeder, to have genetic problems, to be sick, and behavioral problems as well. They're often taken too early from their mothers, but it's the mothers that are suffering in those puppy mills. Those are the ones that are languishing terribly.
Right.
Yeah.
I do some animal communication. I've worked with some of the mamas that have actually been rescued from puppy mills. A lot of them don't make it out of there. They're just put down when they can't be bred anymore. They're done. But I've worked with a few, and they always have psychological problems. Not that they can't be brought into a family and loved, and
right.
But an older dog learning how to housebreak, problematic. They've always wherever they stood, which was in a space this big, there's issues, but it can be done, and they can be very loving and just so happy to be out of there. But
absolutely,
not that many of them get out. They that's it. When they're done, they're done. We
Yeah.
see that with horses. I mean, it's that we do a lot of horse rescue, but we see the same thing with the Amish horses.
Yeah.
When they're done, they're done. They send them to
Yeah.
auction. We rescue them, and it takes a long time to bring them back. So,
Yeah, that's right.
okay, so let's go to how does just the average person, we all, those who go above and beyond to do all kinds of crazy things to help animals, the average person who just works a job and has a puppy or whatever, what can they do? And you frequently are sending out messages. We need you to become involved. Can you write a letter? Can you talk to your legislators? Whatever. Does this make a difference? What can they do, and does it really make a difference?
Yeah, well, I would suggest get active politically. People should join my mailing list. I provide instruction on when the timeliness of when people need to write to their elected officials, and that's really important. I mean, we're starting along. We're in the middle of a long session this year. A lot of bills are out there, and people can make a big difference by contacting their elected officials. Not many people do. And so their voices are generally heard. So I, strongly encourage that. I also strongly encourage, people to educate others, educate their neighbors. Some things like with the pet shop issue. One thing to remember is that responsible breeders never sell to pet shops. They deal directly with consumers, and that's in their codes of ethics for breed clubs too. I mean, this is. They don't want to lose track of where their dog's line is going, and they just never would hand over a dog, their puppies, to an unknown, to a truck driver, to be transported far away, or to a pet store where they don't know who is getting that dog. Right. So educating people that this does not impact consumer choice. You can still, we encourage adoption from a shelter or rescue. Or from a responsible breeder, if you have to, but it's the stores that are still selling are outliers in their own industry. There's only 14 shops that are selling right now in Connecticut, compared to over 100 who don't sell dogs and cats. They partner with rescues to adopt out animals, and educating people on this is important.
Right. Yeah, I have all the dogs in the world here, but it's a mix. I do.
You do.
My husband put them all in the kitchen so they would stop trying to climb into my lap. But I have a mix of, some from shelters, some from Texas, and then I have some purebred dogs that were gifted to me by a breeder who are, they're awesome. I've never bought a dog. I find them, they just show up anyway.
Right. They find you.
Yeah, they just all of a sudden they're here. Cats, same thing. There's always a way to get a dog.
That's right.
Going into a pet shop, there's a million opportunities. So there's this one site, Rescue Me, that you can check out every single state. And where the dogs are, and they have the transports and the whole thing, and there's always a rescue possibility for any breed.
There is for people who want purebred breeds. There's rescue groups associated with them. So there's so many options for consumer choice right now. It's all out there. People need not support puppy mills.
Right. Okay, so let's hold on. I've got my little list here. I don't want to forget anything important. Okay. Oh, all right. What else? What else would you like to talk about while I've got you here? Because you always have so many things cooking. One of the things I did want to, and we'll just do this real quick. One of the things that drives me crazy about animal rescue, and we've had this conversation before, is that there's a lot of there shouldn't be, but there's competition between different organizations. Some groups think the only way, that's the correct way to do it, is their way. What I struggle with, and one of the reasons why I really want to do this series of interviews, is I want us to work together. If all of these millions of people who did this kind of work could just come to like some consensus of what's important. We all think that to be an animal in a world full of humans sucks. That's really, we have that. So how do we learn to work together? I mean, there's the very vegans, and then there's the, you know, just the ones who do dogs, and just there's so many different compartments, and we all love these animals so much that it's almost like we get too angry if people don't do it our way.
Yeah.
The Humane Society kind of walks a fine line with that. So can you talk a little bit about, because you have to deal with everybody.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about how you guys do that and manage to keep your name pretty clean.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think it's really important for the animal welfare community groups to support each other.
Right.
No matter where they are on the spectrum, say, of, you know, animal rights versus animal welfare, because, you know, it's important that we stay together. And over the years, I've worked hard to build coalitions in support of animal bills, with not only animal groups, but environmental groups as well, but pulling people together, finding common ground where we can, and moving forward. And it's just simple, you know, we're stronger together than apart, than fragmented. And, you know, one of my favorite authors, Cleveland Amory, he talked about building an army of the kind. And that's how I see animal groups now. And people may, you know, have slightly different ways of doing things, but we're still in the same battle, or in the same war, I should say. And you see, you know, in any social justice movement, you see problems with division and infighting, but, you know, we have to rise above that pettiness and see the bigger picture, and focus on that common ground in order to move the ball forward, you know, together. Right. And otherwise we're not going to go anywhere.
Right. Yeah. And that's what, you know, I see it. It's a struggle.
Yep.
I get caught up in it just because, you know, these groups, it's very polarizing. Food alone is, you know, who's vegan enough?
Yes.
Vegan, but I'm not quite vegan enough for some. My vegan is intimidating to others. It's, get over it. I don't care what you eat. Be kind. Be kind, and have animals be on the list of who you're kind to. So that's, you know, I think we can fight our way through this and come out the other side. Right. I really do. Okay, so anything else that you would like to add?
I just want to thank you for having me on this, on your program here. And I just want to say I'm incredibly hopeful for our future, because I think values are shifting. I personally, I've seen a massive change from, say, 20 years ago, when my husband and I used to give talks to school kids about animal welfare matters. Today there's a tremendous awareness and sensitivity to animal welfare matters. And, you know, I think we are moving in the right direction. And I think that animals have a lot to teach us if we'd only listen.
Right. Absolutely. I've looked, and as far as the difference, I've been at this, I don't know, as of this year, I've been vegetarian 39 years, and for ethical reasons, and I morphed into vegan. I don't even know when. It's been so long. I don't remember. But the difference between, I was the only one I knew 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I was it. And now everywhere I go, there's more of me. Yep. So, and it's a little sad in that I used to be so unique, and now I'm just so ordinary, you know.
It's much more mainstream now. I remember when my husband and I are both vegan, and over, I think, about 25 years now or so we've been, and it was the mock meats, which we were raised eating meat. So we wanted the mock meats, and they were really not tasty. And it was hard to change people's minds when you're feeding them food that wasn't tasty. But nowadays it's extremely good.
So good.
Yeah.
All right, I want to ask you a couple of really quick questions just for fun. What's your favorite animal? These are questions that tell a lot about people.
That's a hard to pick for me. I love so many of them, but I would probably say chickens, because they have incredible personalities, and their social structure is very interesting to me. I also love, if I may go into the wildlife, opossums. I think they're beautiful in their own prehistoric, say, kind of way, but I love them. I find them fascinating creatures.
Okay, two really interesting answers. Okay, if you could be an animal, this is a hard one because it's hard to be an animal now. Which would you choose?
I would say a songbird, because I just love watching birds fly. I always have. And I always envied their ability. So I think that would have to be, I'd have to be a bird.
Right, and they can sing, and I envy that.
And they can sing, yes. So,
okay. One thing everyone can do to make a difference for the animals of the world.
I would say get involved politically. It doesn't take all that much time. Better yet, run for office. We need animal-friendly people in positions of power.
Done. You were a member of the legislature, so
I was, yeah, I was, and you can get a lot done, and there's a lot of issues to tackle, but we do need animal-friendly people in those positions. And another thing that you mentioned earlier, like you've been with your diet, cutting way back on or eliminating meat and dairy is a very easy thing people can do. It's mainstream now. The mock meats and cheeses are excellent, but that is a very immediate way you can impact the suffering, reduce the suffering of animals.
Right. And almost every restaurant, you remember when you used to go to a restaurant and it'd be like there'd be one item on every menu that you could eat, and it was pasta.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Or you would get a baked potato and a side of veggies.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
But everybody's got multiple items now. It's so much easier. It's amazing.
And I found too, going to a restaurant, if the menu is limited or not friendly for vegetarian, asking the chef to prepare something at most places, they usually love it because they can break out of the routine of their menu with their cooking, and they usually do a fantastic job. So even if it's not on the menu, I would say don't let it stop you.
Yeah, it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. All right, favorite pet you've ever had?
That's another hard pick. I love so many of them over the years, but I would say a special place in my heart was for one of our rabbits, Mary. She passed last year. She was so loving, and that was a very painful loss, but she was such a delight to have. She always did her happy dances. Rabbits do these jumps, and she was very happy, and we just loved her.
Yeah, people don't recognize rabbits the way I don't have rabbits because I'm so spread so thin, and rabbits need a lot of attention. And it would not be fair because the dogs and the pigs are consuming,
Right.
And of course everybody outside, but I would only have a rabbit if I could have a rabbit in the house. And the house is
absolutely
with animals that won't do, so anyway. Okay, one more question. 100 years from now, what do you hope people still remember about you?
I think that is a simple answer, I guess, that they remember that I contributed to making this world a kinder place.
Perfect.
And that's it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to anything, or are you good?
No, I just want to thank you for having me on here today, and I look forward to once again maybe post-COVID visiting Locket's Meadow.
I haven't seen anybody in so long.
Enjoying the animals. I mean, what a magical place you have there, and the animals are lucky to have you and your husband. And I just applaud the work you do, and you're just a shining star here in Connecticut.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same way about you. And I'm so grateful that you agreed to come on and chat with me because we're really, I was kind of going to wait a little bit so that we could maybe be places. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do Zoom.
Let's do it.
Just do it. We'll start. And then maybe down the line, we can get together and do some stuff in person. But you have so many more topics so we'll talk again.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Annie. It's so good to see you.
Okay, great to see you, Kathleen.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.